Now we're live. We are live.
We are live. Once again, another beautiful day in North Kakalaki, and we are live. What's good? What's good? Who that? Who's that?
Who is that?
We got a guest, man.
Put him out.
Got a guest. Talk to the people. Let them know what's going on.
I set this up.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Whatever. It's good. It's on you. It's not on you. It's on me. So we got a guest here today. Got a guest.
I'm here.
On the other end there. You want to speak to the people and say hello? Just say hello.
Yeah, hello, people.
So, yeah, got the lovely Mikaela here with us today. I know some people probably have seen her. Seems like she's what I would call like a rising star, it seems like. Had a video that kind of went viral,
yeah.
It seems, not too long ago. So, you know, the new face in the airwaves here. So kind of just give us, I guess, a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your name. I know a lot of people are probably confused about the Bearpaw. I'm like, Bearpaw? I was about to ask to see your hands real quick to see if we were dealing with a paw or a real hand there. Okay, we got real hands.
Funny.
We got real hands.
So the Bearpaw thing came from when I was born. I was a very small 10.5-pound child with very large hands and feet. So my mom called me Bearpaw as a nickname. And I still have rather large hands and feet for a female, which I don't care. But and so I just kept it as a nickname, and I'm also going to be naming my I guess you could call it my production or film business, Bearpaw. So it's kind of it's my name for my whole thing, but it's not my last name. No, it's
I mean, that's pretty interesting handle, though. I mean, yeah, Bearpaw, like that's pretty dope.
Man. I didn't know if it was something like some type of native thing. I didn't know.
It's not a traditional native name or a spiritual name. It's just a nickname. Yeah, and people got very, oh my God, she's trying to say it's her native last name. We're from the Bearpaw tribe, and we've never heard of her. And I'm like, well, I never said it was my last name, guys. You totally came up with that on your own.
Bearpaw, like that sounds like, what was it? It was like a 80s cartoon that used to come on. That
was Brave Star.
Yeah, right.
Stupid.
Have you ever seen that?
No.
Brave Star? It was like an 80s cartoon or something like that. It was like really weird. Like you should check it out. I don't know. It's probably like kind of racist. It would probably be viewed as kind of racist these days in 2019. But it was like a guy who had these powers like strength of the bear, eyes of the hawk, or something like that. It was weird.
I think they're even calling the air racist now, so we have nowhere to go.
Yeah, everything's racist.
Everything is racist. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved into this, like into the political realm, because it seems like a lot of times now we're seeing a lot more, I guess you could say, African Americans coming out into the political arena on the conservative side. You're seeing a lot of, I guess, I don't know, all kinds of different cultures and things coming out. But what we don't see a lot of is people who consider themselves, natives, coming out as conservatives. So this is kind of a new thing to see someone as spoken, well spoken as yourself, coming out and speaking from a conservative, I guess, point of view. So kind of tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Well, that came about, I mean, I actually started playing pro tennis when I was 17. And my original goal in life was to be the native Serena Williams and to inspire, people in my community to get more involved with sports, to make more of our name for ourselves, as well as to have more financial ability to help back home. Because there's not that many native athletes, and if there are, most people can't name them. So I had been competing up until a year and a half ago when I retired. And I had been having repetitive injuries and couldn't compete properly or train properly. So it was actually my husband who was telling me that, you don't have to play tennis to help the native community. You can do something else. You can speak out. You can get involved in different avenues. And around that same time, when I was kind of like, what am I going to do if I'm not doing tennis? How am I going to help? I happened to come across Turning Point USA's debates going on at universities, and I went to one of their events, and I went up to one of Charlie's right-hand people assistants, her name's Stacy, and I had noticed that they were trying to reach the Black community, the Latin community, the Jewish community, and I went up to her and I was like, you know what? how come nobody ever tries to reach the Native community with all of these big political organizations? Nobody even talks about us half the time, unless it's Standing Rock or something somewhere that the Democratic side can play on. And so I said, so what do you guys think about, you know, trying to reach us? Because we are only 2% of the U.S. population, but we happen to be in a lot of swing states, and as far as voting is concerned. And, you know, we could be also great assets to our state if we get our act together, which a lot of natives are, but there's still work to be done. So I'm like, somebody needs to try and reach us in the political realm. We shouldn't be forgotten by the Republicans, which we are a lot of the time. And they gave me the opportunity to do that by making that first video, just to start a conversation. And, you know, as some people might know, that was a very controversial video. The only point of that video was, hey, maybe we can do things on our own and not have to rely on Congress appropriations, you know, because I believe that Native people have the ability to do that, just like anybody else. We shouldn't be relying on government assistance. We should fully become the definition of a sovereign nation, to where if Congress tomorrow decides that we're not getting any more welfare programs or money, that we're not going to just completely tank as a people. That's my main goal. But, you know, that angered a lot of people in my community.
As we can imagine. Definitely, as we can imagine.
I mean, I got shadow banned on Instagram within, I think, a week and a half of that video going viral.
Wow.
Yeah, with only, I think, 4,000 followers at that point. So I think I deserve a reward for getting shadow banned with the least amount of followers ever.
That means you're definitely onto something to get shadow banned with that.
Exactly. They
But you know what was interesting? I hear you say, you know, so Serena Williams inspired you in a sense to get involved. Like that's interesting. I don't know if you would agree with her politics now, but I guess you would be an inspiring type of person for that.
I would
love to see you square. What is it? What do you call it when you go against each other? I was going to say square off against Serena Williams. What is it? Tee off? What is it?
A face off? A tennis off?
That's golf, right?
A match?
What's that?
You want to see us verse each other? She'll win.
Yeah. She's getting on up there, so you never know, you know. But that's interesting that you got started in politics started with your message off of that. You say you reached out to Turning Point USA. I guess that's the video that went viral was through Turning Point, correct?
Right, exactly. Because I can go volunteer to help go build homes on reservations, or I can, go do a protest here or there. But to me, that's not big enough. I'm trying to reach the youth, and the youth spend most of their time on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and that's where they get the majority of their information. And I had done a little search on YouTube maybe 3 weeks ago, and I just typed in Native Americans today, and the only thing I could find, like I've said before, was sad stories, Standing Rock, history of our genocide, and the conditions on the reservations now, which are pretty horrible in some areas. But I couldn't find any inspirational stories of any modern natives. I couldn't find any real solutions for anything. And I'm like, you know what, that's not okay. If there is a closet native conservative somewhere, a youth, he's going to go online and try and find, a Candace Owens type in the Native community, and he's not going to find it. And he's also not going to find any conservative standpoints. Like, if they're there, they're then like less than 1% of the videos or posts are about, any real solutions, in my opinion. So that's something I'm trying to start, is somewhere for those people to go to get behind a movement, a real movement, and to make a real change.
Wow, awesome, amazing, and that's good, and it's awesome that you say that, because it's like the information's out there. There are stories and things that are out there, but as we said, we really don't utilize the internet as we really should.
Exactly.
The internet is like, it's there. It's for us to use it, but we don't really utilize it the way that we should. So that's pretty awesome that you're actually trying to get out there and do that and reach the youth. So let me ask you this: there are, you know, and another thing is like the media, they twist things, and the internet. You have to watch out because there are a lot of lies and misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So could you tell? And we don't claim to know a lot about the Native American side of things, so to speak. We don't even know a lot about our own, I guess we would consider African American history, so to speak, because a lot of things have been, like I said, twisted and misconstrued. So given what you know about America's history and how America's history with the natives, how do you feel? Like, what are your feelings as far as America and America's history with Native Americans is concerned?
Well, the treatment of the natives was horrific, and you know, even now there's a lot of things that go wrong. I may not have my opinion on like the pipeline Doppel. They Trump put it through, right? It didn't get built across the reservation there, which some natives try and say as far as misleading information online. I've found a lot of articles that make it seem as if it was built on res land, but it wasn't. It was built alongside. But, you know, the treatment as far as that situation goes, from what I can tell, the police were pretty brutal with pretty peaceful protesters. They were throwing tear gas at them. They were shooting fire hydrants at them in the 3 in the morning in freezing weather. You know, that's the kind of stuff that we may disagree on how the pipeline was chosen to be laid and how Trump put it through. But, you know, we shouldn't have aggressive police in that format with natives. In modern times, you know, you're still seeing stuff like that, or the fact that it's really hard for natives to go vote in some areas because we don't have proper addresses and the government's not working properly with native communities to get them IDs so they can go into the voting booth and vote on election day, or giving them very little time to get that through. You know, I was reading in one report, I think it was a Washington Post, it might have been somebody else, but they were saying that one state that was having difficulty with the natives being able to vote on election day, they finally were like, okay, we're going to send you guys these IDs and you can go pick it up at your tribal government office with addresses. But they gave them, what, 2 days to do that before election day? Like, there was hardly any time to get, you know, hundreds of natives there to get their IDs to be able to vote. It's just inefficiently run programs, inefficient. I think the government in some areas does not efficiently try to help the native community, in my opinion. But on the other hand, the natives are also not efficiently trying to help ourselves. So, and that's the bigger problem to me, because the government's always going to mess up. If you look at native history, they've screwed up over and over and over and over and over again. I would say mistreatment has been vast. And I do not approve of the way that they place natives on reservations, and, you know, at times call them wards of the state, or the massacres that happen. You know, it's all wrong. But at this point, what's crazy to me is that we still, a lot of us, refuse to adapt to the times, the modern times, because they think it's going against their traditional values. Which is funny because, you know, they're all complaining on an iPhone.
That is true. That is so true.
And living with light bulbs and use gas in their cars to get around. So it's not like we're so into our traditional ways when we're protesting that we're literally living off the land. It would mean one thing to me if they protested in that manner and they were still living off the land and hunting and whatnot, not using any technology, but that's not the case. They want to complain about modern day America and call capitalism greedy, and it puts, what's the word, or it creates an envious or nothing's ever good enough nature in people. But then on the other time, you're still using the fruits of what capitalism brought us. So
yeah, that makes sense. That's true.
I think there's enough room in our community to make a modern native nation that adapts to the times and is able to become sovereign on our own without losing our values. I think there is room for both, but it's delusional to me to claim traditionalism while using modern advancements and still being appropriated funds by Congress. It makes no sense to me. It's hypocritical. So
it is hypocritical. It is very hypocritical. So, because I mean, I don't. We don't have a lot of information on like reservations and things like that. So I guess if you could like speak about that if you could speak about that as well, like on reservations in like 2019, like how is life on reservations like for natives? Is it good, bad, or is it in between? You know, room for improvement.
There is good, bad, and in between. So there's over 500 federally recognized tribes, and you can't sum all of them up into one condition by any means. They are all across the country. You can look up maps and see where all of them are located. Some of them are located in really good spots as far as near to a city or a town. And those tribes are able to usually participate in Indian gaming, which came about in Reagan's term, which gave natives the right to have Class 3 gaming in order to help themselves become self-sufficient. So you have those tribes. If they're lucky and they're in a good location, they've managed to pull themselves out of the poverty cycle. So that's the good. And then you've got the middle, where there's some tribes that are near a town and they may be trying to start business, but they have difficulties because the majority of our land is held in trust. So what that means is the U.S. government only holds things in trust of 3 groups in the United States, which is children, mentally handicapped, and Native Americans. So they basically told us that we're on the same competency level as children and the handicapped.
Thank you, Jackson.
Crazy if you think about it. So the land that is held in trust, if you want to say lease out part of your land to an oil company because you have to have oil wells, you have to get permission through the BIA or the Bureau of Indian Affairs before doing anything. And they're the BIA is the Interior Department of the United States. They control all Indian affairs, from our housing development to our economic development, our education, our utilities, everything. So the process can be extremely lengthy just to get a lease out. And then they also control the funds. So if you lease your land for your oil, that company comes in, they meter up, and they send the money to pay for it to the BIA, and the BIA is responsible for sending that back to the natives if they do it, or if they do it properly, or if we get the right amount. So
wow,
it makes it hard on any level, from good to medium to bad res, to have anything done properly. And then on the bad end of the scale, you have tribes in the middle of nowhere, like 3 hours from a city or a town or a gas station or a grocery store. And then their land is held in trust. So, big businesses aren't really willing to go into the middle of nowhere and put money into that res because, they can't say they give a loan out or something along those lines and natives can't pay up. Well, they can't get the land. It's held by the government. So there's really no collateral. So it makes investments really difficult for banks and businesses. So these people, they're stuck in the middle of nowhere. It makes a really sad quality of life. So that, I guess you could say, as far as conditions on the res, they vary. And even on the good end of things, I could say in my tribe specifically, we've done well with gaming. And a lot of tribes have done well with gaming. And I think where we could do better, and I don't speak for my tribe at all. I speak with my own opinions. I think that those who are doing better could do a better job of creating more Indian entrepreneurship or getting more business done, like ourselves personally. Because in one end where you have nothing going on in your tribe, no business whatsoever, and things are horrible. On the other hand, you have a lot of business, but some natives just get lazy. They don't realize the opportunities that they have to really help ourselves become more self-reliant, as well as other tribes. So, I'm speaking to all varying ranges of situations, but on one message I have that's clear is rich, medium, poor. We should all be doing a lot more to make ourselves self-reliant and to prepare for a situation where we have another treaty that's broken with the United States that says, guess what, guys? America's decided we don't want to fund you anymore because whatever reason, this, that, or the other, you have a year to prepare for that. I guess I'm pessimistic in that way, but I don't trust the government, which I think is a normal way for any native to feel. I say always prepare for the worst and be prepared for that, and don't expect that, you know, Indian Health Services is going to be there forever. Don't expect that, you know,
that is so, yeah.
It's just silly to expect those things.
Yeah, it sounds like basically the government came in and screwed y'all, decided we're gonna screw y'all, and then we're going to be the helpers and be the protectors of you guys, just like they did to black people. We're gonna use you, and then we're gonna send you out there, and then we're gonna put you on your own welfare, and then we're gonna take care of you.
And so, and that's what that sense of entitlement. I think a sense of entitlement is breeded from that type of treatment.
You owe us.
Yeah, you owe us for the wrong that was done to our ancestors. I feel like that you owe me something, and you need to give it to me. So and
I will sit here and wait for it.
Is that the same thing that you experience with a lot of people that you encounter, like entitlement?
I think it's similar yet different when it comes to the Black and Native community, because with the Native community, we had treaties signed that were agreements for, we will go live on this little section of land in exchange for food and welfare and education and whatnot. You know, that changed over time. Different programs were made over time, but originally it was, you will provide us food and money, and that's how, and we'll give you this many acres, and we'll live here. So many natives feel, I wouldn't call it entitlement, but rather an agreement. So I think it's slightly different, because Black communities have, you know, you guys didn't sign papers saying I will be your slave in exchange for housing and whatnot. So it's slightly in that realm. You guys are more, it's different. But for natives, what I think the danger is, even though there were agreements, I feel like we're becoming compliant with letting the conqueror rule over our lives. And many natives, when I say conquered, they're like, oh, we're not a conquered people. Like, we're still here. We're still, you know, a powerful community. But to me, how powerful are you? The best way to answer that is, if tomorrow all funding ended, if everything ended, can you live on your own? If IHS ends, if, you know, Indian Health Services ends, if the BIA ends, if the education fund ends, if, you know, all these things end tomorrow, can you function in society? And can you function on your land? Can you function on your reservation? Or will all of us have to leave because we're in the middle of nowhere and there's no gas stations and no grocery stores? So if that happened, people would have to disperse in the city and bye-bye res land. It's really easy for the government to say, all right, well, looks like you guys aren't there anymore, so we'll just take that land back now. So I say, you know, I wouldn't feel entitled as much as compliance with the situation that we find ourselves in. And that compliancy is dangerous to me, because we become lazy, I guess. Lazy, and we take our lifestyle for granted, whether it be poor or good. We take it for granted.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, it seems like you said, it's different. It's a different thing between the Black issue and the Native issue, but the end result is ultimately the same, in my view. Civility and total reliance on the government.
Yes.
And that's a problem for me. I hate the government. I literally hate the government. I cannot stand them. I don't trust them no farther than I can throw them, which is nowhere. So I trust them not at all.
and even though you said there were treaties that were signed, so there were agreements that were made between natives and you know the government
backed down on.
But yeah, the government backed down on. So, but do you think that as natives, do you think they were feeling like they were agreeing to a sense of dependency on the government, or they were just looking at it as a mutual thing, like a mutual understanding?
They didn't have too much of a choice, though. I mean, it was like either you do this or you die.
Yeah, I think in some situations it was you do this or you die, and in other situations it was an agreement of this is the trade that we are making, and you know those agreements shattered many times over, which is why I say we shouldn't look at it as a mutual agreement anymore. You know, it's fine to look at it like that if you want, but be prepared for the fact that the government will probably keep doing what it's done in the past and keep backing out on agreements. One great example of that is the Cobell case. There's a documentary called 100 Years, and it's about the fact of what I was talking about earlier, the BIA not paying off the natives in the way that they were supposed to off their oil. They were just pocketing the money, in my opinion. And they still haven't gotten their money back. And that's the Navajo tribe in Arizona as well. And I think some in Montana. You know, that lawsuit took place over the Bush administration and ended in the Obama administration when he made the BIA pay back a small percentage of the money, mind you, of what they were really owed. And in my opinion, he did that because it was his first term, and that's a really good way to get to some native votes. You know, I'm not going to pay you guys the full billion that you owe you, but I'll give you maybe like 30% of it, and that way, you know, I look like the good guy. Whereas Bush was supposed to do that himself, but he actually kicked the judge that was going to make the BIA pay the natives back their money off the case and put like a wait term on it so that it would feed over into Obama's administration. So,
Wow.
you know, that's one thing Republicans, I think, don't understand. Is they like to say that the Democrats, in the Black community, it's pretty true. The Democrats have done horrible things to the Black community, and it's pretty much just been the Democrats. But when it comes to the Native situation, I have found that it's a lot of horrible things have happened under Republicans as well as Democrats. And
that's true on both ends.
yeah. It's something that Republicans don't like to face up to. It's like, you guys, the history is history. It doesn't have to make you any less of a Republican. But what it does make you is a realist on the fact that, you know, people are people, and government is government, and parties are parties, and they are not God.
There you go. There you go. That's exactly right.
What it all boils down to.
We got some people in the chat saying we got feedback. I think we got some feedback on your end a little bit. They have a little problem hearing you.
Yeah.
But it's all good. If we got to go through it like that, we'll just keep on trucking.
Oh, they have trouble hearing me? Like, if I pull my mic back closer?
Yeah, there's a little feedback coming in when you're talking. I think they might have got it right there. That sound good right there. All right, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we were just talking about like dependency on the government, and I think with like we said, the Black community is like it gets me upset when a lot of people say that they don't really trust the government because of like things that they want reparations for certain things that happened in the past, and but with the same out of the same mouth you go and we talk about things like in the Civil Rights Act in 1964. And it seems like we're going and we're saying, okay, things are so bad under President Trump. It's so bad. We still have to fight for equal rights for blacks and all of this. I'm like, but didn't the Civil Rights Act come in around 1964, around the same time as Lyndon Baines' Great Society,
right,
that came in from the Democrats? So I'm like, it doesn't make sense to try to give government more power when we've given them power. They put these things in place, Great Society, all these government programs and stuff, put it in place, and now we're still 30, 40 years later saying that we still don't have equal rights. We still have to fight for the same supposed civil rights that we were fighting for back 30, 40 years ago. That means nothing's changed, apparently.
In the mid scheme, don't trust the government at all.
There you go.
Distrust of government is very healthy.
It's healthy.
When you trust your government can do whatever they want to do and you comply to it. Compliance is very dangerous when you just blindly complying to everything that comes down the pipe.
Exactly. So what percentage do you think of natives agree with your mindset and way you think versus those that don't and still want the government to fix things?
Oh, well, I would say the majority of natives are against everything I'm saying. So, but on the other hand, what was interesting is once I released this video, I got a lot of messages from, I'm calling them closet conservative natives, who are too scared to talk about what I'm talking about because of the backlash from our community. Our community is very bitter and hateful, in my opinion. The fact that I've come out and said these things, and any rational, logical person can see that I'm not saying anything in a hateful mindset or a racist mindset. And I'm definitely not loving on the Republicans, but for some reason, the fact that I've stated something upstream to what the normal native thought is, I've been immediately labeled a white supremacist, I'm, you know, a bedwench. I'm bought off by the Republican Party. I'm bought off by colonials to take the land from the natives. And whereas I think what I'm saying is I want us to have our land, and the way to do that is to not trust the government. So, you know, people are going to hear what they want to hear, and people have been brainwashed. But I think the biggest issue with the community is that we've allowed bitterness to take over our logic. And we've allowed emotions to reign where there should be a reality of what's, you know, what's really going on in our communities. So, you know, I'm not going anywhere because I know there's there's a lot of those closet natives who've messaged me and they've thanked me for coming out and saying something, and they finally feel like they have someone to get behind. And I'm doing it even if it's only 5 natives. You know, those 5 natives can tell 5 more natives and talk to them and have conversations. And those 5 tell another 5. So I don't care if I only have 3 or 4 natives standing behind me at this point. It's going to grow because we have to grow as a people into a modern native society. Or, you know, I think it'll end. And if it doesn't end, we'll definitely won't get any better than it is now. So, sorry, guys.
Well, we're with your sister. Like our great grandmother on our mother's side was a Cherokee. So we're with you. Yeah, you got a percentage of us that stands with you. So you reached us. Thank you very much. We appreciate you very much. Dude, but look, you're not the only ones being called white supremacists. Don't feel bad. Like we're far away from white. You know, more far than you are. So, you know, don't feel bad for being called a white supremacist. They've even called us white supremacists. So I don't even know how that even works.
I don't know. I married a white guy, so therefore I'm a white supremacist.
Ooh, that's what it is.
So that's what they try to use. That's what they try to use. Okay.
The white man came and stole your land, and he came and stole your heart. See how that works?
It's funny to me because they tell me a lot that I'm not, you know, I don't know my history and whatever. But people have also personally messaged me to tell me that I married the person who killed my ancestors. I married the white person who is responsible for the colonialism. And I'm like, actually, my husband's from Belgium. And
exactly.
He's an immigrant. And his whole family is from Belgium for as far back as we know. I don't think they had anything to do with our native situation. So...
That's too much research. You did too much research. You did too much research. Then that's way over their head.
They're like, what? What's Belgium?
That's like the
You mean all white people aren't from Britain?
What? Who knew, right? Who would have thought? Mind blown.
Mine is blown. That is crazy. And we go through the same thing. It's like, you know, people, especially in our area, we have a lot of leftist-minded family members and friends and people that are in our circle. So, you know, growing up, that's all you really hear is the white man, the white man.
Then you realize your great granddaddy was a white man.
Yeah.
And everybody behind him on Ancestry was white people.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that blood like running through here.
So we're probably more European than we are African, so to speak. So it's crazy. And then you start looking like you'll see a Russian walking down the street and it's like, yeah, that white watch out for that white man over there. I'm like, you know, they had nothing to do with the Northern slave trade, right? It's like it's crazy to me.
It's dumb to me too because the truth should supersede whatever the color of our skin is and whatever the country we happen to be born is in. So I think, you know, it's time that we start looking at politics and policies with our eyes closed and our heads and minds open to change and honesty, rather than making all of this, you know, identity politics and what quarter white are you and what quarter native are you, and because all of a sudden you can't talk about something because you might have a little bit of the wrong kind of blood in you.
Exactly. And that's a problem when it comes to like reparations. Now a whole lot of people on both sides come out, yeah, we need reparations. The government owes us this. The government owes us that, and we're gonna get paid this. But all right, the problem I have with that is I got a whole lot of percentage of white in me. Which part gets the money and which part got to pay back? And does that cancel out?
Ooh, that's
At
tough.
what point do I get nothing because
That's tough.
I got too much?
Exactly, because I think Elizabeth Warren was the one that threw into the ring that natives should also be getting reparations, which I find funny because she probably lives on what is or what was native land, the natives already have their treaty agreements where they're getting money and programs from the government. So that is a form, you could call that a form of reparations already. So if she wants more reparations, what else can she give them or us other than our land back? And we all know that's not going to happen. So to me, it's just, a line to get people to vote for you.
Exactly, a line to get people to vote for you. And that's why I always say, you know, Democrats, they know how to wrap stuff up and sell it to you and pitch it to you good. That's why I call them the greatest salesman in the world, because like leftist-minded people, and I said not just Democrats, but, you know, there are some leftist-thinking Republicans as well. So that whole leftist ideology, they can wrap stuff up and make it sound real good. Because it sounds good, that means it is good, and that means we need to implement it and enact it. But that just because it sounds good doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. You know, reparations can lead to reservations. That's what I'll say for black people. So people that want it, not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. Reparations can lead to reservations. That's a good one.
Yeah. You can have that. You can have it. It's yours. Take it. You know, you deserve it.
Post on it today.
Yeah, post that. You can have it. We'll just we'll repost it or retweet it or something like that. Yesterday, they had the hearings that went on.
Oh God, the hate speech hearings.
Yeah, the hate speech hearings. Did you see any of that?
Where Candace was going off on the poor little Asian congressman.
Yeah, she really did go in on that. As I said, Candace, one thing about Candace is she can hold her own. We never had to worry about her. She can hold her own. But it was one woman that was made comments. I don't even remember her name. She was supposed to be some history expert or something like that. And she went on for a whole minute ranting about, like, you know, how racist America was and how the founding fathers willingly and consciously embraced slavery and white supremacy. And it was a lot of inaccurate information that she was throwing out there. So, I mean, I guess I just wanted to get your opinion on like the founders of America, like founding fathers, and what you and your views specifically on white supremacy and, like, you know, just, I guess, slavery and white supremacy.
I mean, at the start of America, there was the founding fathers. I don't like to loop them all into one thing and call them all racist.
There you go. That's all I want.
They were different people. They all had their different beliefs. Yeah. They all believed differently. You know, Ben Franklin thought that the treatment of the natives was horrible, and George Washington, you know, he had slaves, and he didn't believe in killing off the natives. He believed that the bigger America came, they would naturally kind of fall out of their powerful position. So he didn't believe in just going and murdering all of them, because some of them did want to do that. And, you know, it was a different time. Women sat in a different place in society. Somebody of color sat in a different place in society. But what was beautiful about America was that it was founded on the idea of independence, personal independence. So even though the founding fathers may have been incorrect in their daily beliefs and what they practiced, they created the infrastructure for change. So that generations following them and people following them still had the freedom to say, you know what, Mr. Andrew Jackson, you were wrong. And we at this time think that you were wrong for what you did, and therefore we're going to make these changes. Or they put the infrastructure there for women at one point to say, you know what, we should be allowed to vote too. We should be allowed to be lawyers. We should be allowed to be doctors. That's the part that I like to focus on, because I can't go back and talk to Andrew Jackson and these people and tell them, you know, that they were jerk. I can't tell them that they were racist. I can't tell them that they made bad decisions. They're gone now, and I don't like living.
Jefferson would care too much anyway. Not Jefferson, but Jackson. Jackson wouldn't care too much.
Yeah, Jackson probably wouldn't care too much about what either of us had to say, but, you know.
Jackson wouldn't care too much.
But you're 100% right on all that. Like, I mean, because what that's why I go back to saying, like, information is so important, and knowledge, and knowledge is not power, but applied knowledge is power. No, and when the founders of this nation, like, they did a great thing, because what people don't like to talk about is, like, how the Constitution itself, like, it came from, like, 5 liberty charters. There were, like, several hundred years of compiling this Constitution. It goes back all the way to Anglo-Saxon times So it wasn't like they were just sitting around the table and they were just like, let's come up with something to build this principle on, and let's be racist with it. No, this thing came from principles like that go way back. And when it says all men are created equal, it meant all men are created equal.
Look at what the word said. Don't look at what the people did, because people jack up stuff. They mess up stuff all the time.
People do things contradictory to what it sounds. That's why I say America. The idea, it was an idea. It's an ideology. So
we're still working towards it.
We're still working towards it. You know, getting back into the right track.
You know, Washington put in his will that he wanted all his slaves freed when he died.
There you go.
And
there you go.
I believe that he did think slavery was wrong, but the people have to realize that the environment that you live in can force you to do certain things at that time, which is what I believe a lot of them had to deal with. They couldn't fix the slavery thing in the Constitution because they would have started a civil war before they even became a country. Mm-hmm. So they had to trust that the document would allow people to come to that conclusion and consensus on their own over time, which is exactly what happened. And I think that's what we need to be looking at more than, oh, well, so-and-so thought this about slaves. It's like, well, he's not here anymore. So what do we do about
now? That is so
exactly. He's dead. Let it be. Let it be. And stop blaming people for stuff that they didn't do. The white man did this. That white man didn't do anything because he wasn't born.
Exactly. You know, it's so silly. It's almost like gives me a headache sometimes. Some days I wake up and I'm like, you know what? I'm not putting on the news. I'm just gonna watch Catfish today because
you need a break sometimes. Like I
do. I watch the Kardashians for like an hour, and just that feels less dumb than CNN.
and I feel for you honestly, because like now you got to get away from that stuff for a while. But even if you got to get away, there are people in their communities. Like now, we got people like Candace Owens. We got Brandon Tatum. We got people that are on the rise, like David Harris Jr. We got people that we can kind of go to on. I don't know who you have. You're that person. I don't know who you have. Like, to be honest, I don't know who you can go to. Your white husband. I don't like. Who can you go to?
Like when I need to chill out and take a break. I'll vent to my husband, which I'm sure he's sick of hearing it by now. And so when he's sick of hearing it, I'll call my mom and vent to her. And then when she's sick of hearing it, I'll call my grandpa and vent to him. So it's just like I have my call. And then, once I'm at the end of venting all of my what is wrong with people and why are they like this, I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm up for getting some facts out there again. Let's go back to it. So
let's go back to the battlefield.
Let's go back to the fight. Man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Now let me ask you this: is your favorite color like turquoise or something? I see you like I've only seen a couple videos from you, but I've always seen you wearing like that color. Is that turquoise?
Well, these are my only. I don't have pierced ears, so I have like 3 pairs of earrings that are not maybe like 5 or 10. I'm a girl, okay? I might have lied. So maybe 10 pairs of earrings. But all the other ones, I have a real problem with like buying crystals, like big dramatic Oscar day kind of earrings. So these are like my go-to pieces that I just wear on a daily basis. And they happen to all be turquoise, but yeah, I guess turquoise could be my favorite color. I got a turquoise.
No problem with that.
That's too much turquoise. I got to change it up.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like a spiritual thing, like like that thing is like the sky is like that same color, so it's like sky blue thing, like and you feel I don't know.
Yeah, hardly anything I do is that spiritual.
Okay, all right. I might seem like a racist or something because I know nothing about Native history. Like
the biggest thing we got in Native history was Pocahontas.
Yeah, Pocahontas was awesome.
Well, Pocahontas was also you should look up the real story of Pocahontas. That's a very Disney.
The real story was nothing like that.
And she was ugly, wasn't she?
She was jacked.
Okay, yeah, also. Yeah.
And John Smith was like a 50-year-old pedophile.
Ooh, so it was like a Celine Dion and her husband type relationship, like.
Yeah, he was some big fat guy.
Ooh.
Well, in the original Cinderella story, I think the sisters also cut off their toes to fit their feet in the glass.
Yeah, it was very brutal.
Why is Disney so dark?
No, all of those stories are dark. Them stories from back then.
Most of them are written by the Brothers Grimm, who were pretty dark. So
their name says it all.
Oh yeah. That's right, Brothers Grimm. I do remember that. Yeah.
That's where the term "that's pretty grim" comes from, because the Brothers Grimm write stories. So what do you guys think about the fact that Trump he decided to put the picture of Andrew Jackson in the Oval Office? What do you guys think of that?
He can do what he want to do.
Andrew Jackson, like, there were, and people were comparing him to Andrew Jackson. He said he liked Andrew Jackson. Yes. So
I like the fact that he fought the bank.
That's
I like that part of Andrew Jackson.
Exactly.
The other part of Andrew Jackson, he was a douchebag, but
he won. He fought the bank and he won. Like, this dude won for that.
Yeah, so I mean, he has some good prints. He has some good stuff that came with him, and the other side of him was jacked up.
Exactly. He's a human being. So I think that's what part Trump identifies with most.
Take the meat, spit out the bones, and go along with your life.
Yeah, because I can't be mad. Like, some of the founding fathers, like, you know, they some of them had slaves and some of them inherited slavery. There was nothing they could do about it. But as a whole, I still agree with them. So that's why I say individualism is so powerful, and the collective is like, because we all have faults. We all are messed up, and from the inside out, we're messed up. But, you know, as a collective, we're messed up. But there are individual parts of each of us that stand out, that are good. You know, we got to take those goods and work with those to make America a better place, to make our own individual homes a better place, our own individual communities a better place, and take those individual parts of ourselves and make ourselves a better person.
And with all of that, he got shot in a duel and still killed the guy and walked away from him because the dude talked about his wife.
The dude talked about his wife. Yeah, he stood up for his wife. He did.
And he shot him and killed him with a bullet
inside of him,
in his lung.
So Andrew Jackson was a beast, but yeah. But he was a racist prick.
He was a racist prick.
I guess it's more like, you know, as long as he's not mirroring Jackson too much in his presidential term, then, you know, put who you want in there. Whatever.
It's a portrait. If he came out and said, "Yeah, we're gonna start moving people," now
Andrew Jackson pushed you to the west of the Mississippi River, but I'm gonna push you off the west coast of the USA.
You know, then we got an issue. Then we got a problem. Now it's time to take up arms.
He does actually want to build the wall straight through Res land.
Oh, is that where it's going? Right through some Res land?
Right in the middle. So this reservation right on the border, they agreed already to put, you know, the fence up in their area.
Yeah.
The low fence. And now Trump wants there to be the wall through there, which that tribe used to migrate over that area, and now they're pretty stable in one area, but part of their tribe, which happens to be Mexican, are on the other side of where the wall will be. So they're super against him building that wall there.
Oh, okay.
And that's the thing about, you know, when you have an idea, it's like, build the wall, and it's like, but that's gonna go through you know, then you gotta think about it. But I said build it. So it's like collateral damage. It's like, man, well, it's gotta be done. It has to be done, you know. So, you know, you want to fix the problem, but you're not thinking about all the intricate details of actually fixing the problem and who that affects, you know, in the whole process. So it's tough. That's why I say it's not, you can't just say bad, Orange Man bad, or just Orange Man good. You got to look at the whole.
There's a lot that goes into it, yeah.
But yeah, as far as it going through a res, like, say, I didn't even know that. You know, I didn't even know that. But I know you have to get permits and there has to be permission granted and different things when making those moves. But still, like,
it's tough. Wouldn't it be great if the natives that are on the American side were reliant to the point where they realize they're on the border, they realize there's a small fence there, and they realize that now there might be a border wall. Why don't we have more native border patrol agents who are able to guard the land in that area? Why don't we have, you know, native park agents in that area who can help with the animal migration through the wall? Like these are things, rather than complaining, why don't we actually try and get in real positions of power, encouraging our youth so that we're supposed to be land and water protectors of our area. That's part of our tradition. So what a better way to do that than getting involved in American government to run those positions. There was there's a few tribes now who are actively and created their own construction companies in order to lay the gas and oil pipelines themselves. Because who better is going to care about the land and protecting it from oil than those who were here originally and who care about our land? So I think it's so silly to just like try and stop the oil pipelines, and you know, they talked about like going and destroying them so that they can't be there, or preventing the bulldozer, or you know, the contracting equipment picking it up. It's like, rather than trying to make issues and, you know, your petty little wars that you're not going to win because, surprise, America has military force and and all these things we don't have. Why aren't we educating ourselves in order to be able to do these things? Contract with the government, get paid for it, put that money back into your res and create gas station, grocery stores. And meanwhile, you're able to protect the pipeline yourself. You're able to be responsible for the leaks. You know, that's the mind shift change we have to have, where I say it's not losing our traditions of protecting our land and our people, but rather making ourselves a modern native nation that's able to adapt to the times. You can't be happy, you can't be stuck in the past, man. The longer you stay back there, the more you're gonna get run over by society, which is what happens to the Indians in the beginning, which is why we ended up on reservations, because the majority of the world was far more advanced than we were. And I'm not gonna fault them for that. They were on a separate continent. It's kind of, they got because white people had to go exploring, but at this
you should have just stayed home.
I don't like our sandbox. I like the way that sandbox looks. Let's go play on that one.
The natives liked being still, but other cultures
are today.
Curious. So I say learn from our mistakes and start adapting, because the more that we adapt and we're in control of our own issues, the more powerful we'll be to prevent wrong from happening and to really have a voice and a table in modern day America.
Oh yeah, that's what it's all about. Now that what done happened, you can't change that. We got to come together now and do what we need to do. Like you said, the people with the pipeline and stuff. You got to get involved in your community and what, like you said, who more important and who gonna care about it more than the people that live there. That's why local government is so important. You got to deal with where you stay. The federal government don't care nothing about what you got going on in your little town. They don't live there.
Like it,
they do not care.
They'll pretend like it when there's votes at stake. But
oh yeah. What's going on in your community? Like, we ain't seen you in 4 years. Where did you go?
Yeah,
you're gonna be like Mary Poppins and just float away after it's over with.
There's a crisis in Minnesota right now. There's Native Americans living in a tent community in the middle of the city because they're not getting housing, which is promised to them through HUD, the Housing Urban Development Project. They've been on the bottom of the list, below all the Somalian immigrants coming in.
Wow.
The Somalian immigrants are getting favored over the Native Americans, so the natives aren't getting their houses built. And they're living in like substandard housing, no proper heating, all this kind of stuff. So they got to leave the res to go to the city to find a job. And then, they're having trouble finding jobs as well because there's like a Somalians versus natives going on right now, and the local government's not doing anything to help them because they need these Somalian immigrants coming in and voting for them. So, that's, I saw that, I think it was whoever was running for governor, he wanted to get the native vote in the tent community, right? So he went out there right before election time with, he was going to feed them all lunch and talk to them. Well, apparently he showed up with only 6 lunch boxes for like hundreds of natives, took some pictures, handing it to them. It's like, yeah, vote for me, and then took off. But that's what got put on the news, not the fact that he only brought 6 lunch for those people.
That is crazy.
I will multiply these lunch boxes. Let us pray.
In my name. That's crazy though. But you know what they should do? I mean, they should really like. I usually would say, just claim that they're black, like a Rachel Dolezal or something like that. But I guess they can just claim that they're illegal immigrants, and then they can get, the housing.
I'm gonna stop saying illegal immigrants. I'm gonna start saying illegal aliens. That's what they are.
Well, whatever you want to call it. Just claim to be one, and then they should get the housing. Like
it's a little bit hard to claim you're an illegal immigrant when you're a Native American, though.
No, this is the age where we can claim what we want to be. We can claim to be whatever.
Are you assuming my immigration status?
That I think is the next thing they're gonna use. That is interesting. Like I'm afraid of that.
I'm afraid of everything. This whole world is scaring me.
I am so afraid. That is wow. But I think we pretty much. I think we pretty much covered everything. Bearpaw, that was awesome. Like, is there anything else you want to put out there before we wrap up here?
You know what? I say, start listening to what I'm saying before you judge me. Be more willing. We need to be more willing in the community to have a conversation rather than silencing each other when we don't agree. And I'm brave enough to say when I'm wrong, or if you show me facts and you show me where I'm wrong. And I'm also very willing to have my mind opened and changed. But the other side of the party has to be like that as well, or we're just forever going to be fighting with each other and getting nothing done until we wake up one morning and guess what? Daddy government doesn't give a crap about our position anymore. And those funds can be better served over here in the Somalian area or the Latin area or the military area. And we're going to cut funding. So I say we need to start having a conversation in our community. We really do.
Self-sufficiency.
Yes.
Self-sufficient.
Yes. Self-sufficiency, awesome. That is amazing. Hey, look. So go ahead, right before we wrap up. Go ahead and plug yourself. You know, get out any of your Twitter, any of your social media tags and handles or anything like that you want to put out there.
So Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Just type in Mikaela Bearpaw on all of them. It makes it very easy. I also wanted to use Bearpaw on everything because it annoyed people so much. So, so you know what? Now I'm not.
You should get some merch.
People were like, "You better use your real last name," and I'm like, "Well, first off, it's not a last name, but now I'm not even going to put my last name. Not only am I going to name all my handles Mikaela Bearpaw, I'm going to make a production company, make movies about the res conditions, and call it Bearpaw."
Oh yeah. Screw you people. Trademark that Bearpaw and get some merchandise and all that good stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, easy to find me, Mikaela Bearpaw.
Awesome. Mikaela Bearpaw. Look, we appreciate you coming out and taking time out of your busy schedule to come chill with us today and chop it up with us. We definitely appreciate that.
Yep, thank you for having me.
No doubt about it. We're going to go ahead and sign out then.
When we sign out, just stay on for a couple seconds.
Okay.
So, people, continue to fight for the Constitution.
With these, so that hopefully
and prayerfully
we never have to use these.
I want to do it. I want to do it.
Stop broadcast.